All right, I hope you guys are having a great day today. I wanted to get right into talking about networking, and a lot of this is kind of been learned through my life, and it kind of made itself more relevant as I started my business. But whenever I first got married and had relationships, friendships, stuff like this was a lesson that I learned early on. And then when I got into business, I just saw the compounding effect that it actually has even in networking. And what that is that whenever you come into a relationship, this was a mistake that I had when I was younger, obviously, and I outgrew it. But my mentality was I was going to come into this relationship and it was going to be beneficial for me. I got married and it was going to be so beneficial. It was going to make everything better. I started in business even, and I thought business was going to just make everything better. Like I achieved it. I went into this idea of, hey, I'm going to start a business and it's going to be better. I'm going to get married. It's going to be better. And the fact is like starting a business, networking, relationships all have the same thing in common. Is when you come into those, they're not going to give you anything like you think they are. Reason being is every relationship, when you walk up to it, or when you're networking, when you come into it, or even starting a business, is just an empty box. That's all there is. So you run up there and you think this relationship's going to be beneficial for you. You're starting this business it's going to make you happy. You run up there and you look in the box as soon as you achieve that, as soon as you start your business, as soon as you start networking, make that relationship with somebody, you open up that box like, yeah, finally I did it. And there's nothing inside. The reason why is because it takes two. You can't just go into something and assume that you're going to benefit from it, like I did. Marriage, it was the same thing, and we'll use that as an example. You go in, that's a relationship that's supposed to be for life, and in my opinion, that's just how I was raised. Obviously, circumstances come up, but I went into getting married believing it was going to be for life. Thankfully, I'm still with my wife, and I hope I'll continue for the rest of my life. But I got there, got married. Yeah, that's where all my happiness, my success, I achieved it, checked that box off. And I looked inside, and it was an empty box, and I was rather disappointed when I first got started. So what you have to now understand is that you have to put into that empty box. It's both ways. My wife put in, and I had to put into that box, had to put effort in, had to put things in. And even with business, specifically what we're talking about with business is you're going out and you're asking people to buy your product, to pay for your service, to pay attention to you. That time is the most valuable thing. Forget about money. Money's easy. Money comes and goes. It's nothing but time, attention. If you have that, you have something. So when you're asking someone for their time, you're asking for a whole lot. So make sure you are putting in, you're adding value to that box for that person to be able to be getting something, and then it's going to be able to come back at you, and then you will then get something. So for me, business, it's an empty box. I've been shoving stuff into that box for a long time. And by a long time, I mean only like a year and a half. So it's not really a long time in the grand scheme of things. If you really think that it takes 10 years for, overnight successes to happen, I still got 8.5 years to go. Getting there. Anyways, so I've been putting into this box. And eventually, there's going to be that breaking point where I can start pulling stuff out. But don't get the mentality like I had, and like many have that have failed, is they're going to come in and they're going to start this business and be super successful, and they're just going to just take things out. Well, look, you got to imagine that business is like, it's like a baby. You can't just take from a baby. It's just an infant. It's just young. You need to put into it, nurture it, grow it, get it to where it's walking on its own. Then it will be able to produce for you once it's grown up a little bit. But if it's still an infant, you can't take stuff from an infant. It's relying on you to feed it, not it feeding you. And so with networking specifically, when you're asking for people to pay for your service, pay for your product, just pay attention to you at all, you have to make sure you're adding value to them. long before you ever get anything out of it. It's not like you just walk up on somebody. I mean, for the most part, you hope it is. And usually, from what I've been noticing now, is people don't just out of the blue just buy something just to buy something, or pay for a service, unless it's just like an emergency or something. But for the most part, I've found that it's been a long nurture of a relationship. Someone needs something, like, oh, hey, I know this guy, or hey, you call a friend, like, yeah, I had this guy work with me, and somewhere along the lines there's been a relationship and trust has been built for them to reach out to you and obviously pay you for what you have. Now, I'm probably wrong in saying for the most part. This is just out of my experience, and it is very limited, so be patient with me. But some people just like to buy and consume just to buy and consume. But from what I'm coming at, from being a consumer myself, from buying things myself, being clients and stuff like that myself as a business, it takes a little bit. I like to have a relationship. I like to know where I can trust. I do lots of research on almost everything I buy, or any any service that I ever use. I do lots of research. It's not just I just use someone to use someone. I need some reviews. I need real people talking about it, or someone I know used it or bought it and it's been great for them, and then I go out and that trust is then built into me buying. So remember, with networking, with your business, don't come up on relationships and immediately just think that you can just start asking for things. Because for the most part, if you just out of the blue ask some random person that doesn't know who you are, you just ask them for something, for one, that person has no idea who you are. It happens to me all the time, and it really amazes me, and it's sad that I've got to have this conversation, but I get messages out of nowhere. I have no idea who the person is. They haven't been like commenting on my stuff, or they haven't got a relationship with me. For the most part of it, most of you that comment and stuff like that, I got a pretty good relationship. I remember who I'm talking to for the most part. And yeah, these guys come out of nowhere, don't know who they are. They haven't been commenting, interacting, haven't even tried to make a relationship with me and invest anything into a relationship with me. And then all of a sudden they come right up and just ask. They just want to ask. It's happened even here locally. They're like, oh, hey, I don't really know you. I just met you. One is like, I used to go to school with your brother, but hey, do you need help? I was like, I don't even know you, man. I'm probably not going to give you a job. One, I don't have one for you, but that seems rather audacious, just to walk up and just say, hey, I need a job, can you give it to me? Because the amount of responsibility for me to take on is astronomical. I mean, I'm in charge of you and your family, your provision, and I don't even know who you are. So why would I take on that responsibility without even knowing who you are? And then, with comments, for the most part, it is good conversation, but it's the private messages that get sent to me. Ton of them are great. They really are, and I love to help. But other times, there's just a few people that they ask just point blank for just whatever. They just add like, hey, I need this, or I want this, or hey, I want to come work, near you, or hey, just asking, and there was no investment. So like, I'm kind of back mirroring on this a little bit, is how I felt when I was, approached that way. It's like, look, hey, I don't even know you, you don't even know me, but I want something from you. Hey, can you take the time out of your busy day? I know you're running a business and stuff, but I want you to help me with my problem. And that's very inconsiderate. I would advise you to be considerate of the people's time that you're reaching out to, and bring something to the table before you ever try taking. That is just my advice on networking, and I could obviously get better at it, but I hope the subject helped you out. I hope it kind of gave you some ideas. I'm going to jump off here. You guys have a great day, and as always, I'll talk to you later.